Good day and welcome everyone to the Living Authenticity podcast. I used to read so many storybooks to my daughters, especially the two older ones we read from this set of Bible stories. And I thought since our youngest daughter didn't get as many, she did, but not as many, I thought I would read through the series and start doing that here on a podcast. And we'll start actually in volume 4 here. This is the one I grabbed. It's about King David. So as you can see in the background, there's some nieces and nephews, some of your cousins. We're reading stories to them a while back, but I'll read the story today, and I hope that it will be a beautiful way for our daughters, my girls, to hear my voice and to listen to a good story, but also for many other children. So this is designed where it can be shared to any children or any adults for that matter. But it's a beautiful day, and I hope you're doing well. So, story one, David the Lion-Hearted. It was lonesome about the house. It was lonesome about the house. Three of David's older brothers had gone to help Saul fight the Philistines. Father and mother were worrying about what might happen to them on the battlefield. David was worried too. Out there on the hillside, looking after the sheep, he kept thinking about Eliab, Abinadab, and Shammah. Perhaps they would be killed or taken prisoners, and he would never see them again. That made him sad. As he lay on the soft green grass, with the sheep feeding around him, the cool wind blowing over him, he wondered why people had to fight and kill each other. Then he remembered how one day a lion had come to attack his sheep, and he had fought and killed it all by himself. Would he ever forget that lion, or the bear that had tried to make off with one of his lambs? He hadn't wanted to kill them, but there was no other way to protect the sheep. But the Philistines were different. They should have known better. Why didn't they stay in their own country? Why did they have to come and bother other people as they did? Suddenly, from far away came a familiar call. David! It was Jesse, his father. He wanted to send some food to the boys in camp. Would David please take it? Would he? There was nothing he wanted to do more. Perhaps he would be able to be there in time to see the battle. Maybe he would get a good look at the Philistines and find out what sort of people they were. And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper and took and went as Jesse had commanded him. How far he had to travel we are not told, but at last he came to the camp. Here he left the food with the man in charge, then ran among the soldiers until he found his brothers. How glad he was to see them again. But Eliab, the oldest, did not give him a very happy greeting. He asked angrily why he had come, and with whom he had left the sheep. I know thy pride, he said, and the naughtiness of thine heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. What have I done now? Sighed David, like any boy who had been rebuked by an elder brother. Just then someone shouted, Look, there he comes! David looked, and to his amazement, out of the camp of the Philistines came a giant of a man, at least 9 feet tall, wearing a huge brass helmet, a brass coat of mail, and brass armor on his legs. As for the staff of his spear, it was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. Who's that? Asked David. Goliath of Gath, said someone, beginning to run away as the giant strode down into the valley which separated the two armies. Why is everybody running away? Wondered David. Why doesn't somebody stand up to this man, giant though he is? Disappointed and angry, he said aloud, Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? Someone heard what he said and told King Saul, who sent for David. Let no man's heart fail because of him, David said to the king. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. Saul wouldn't hear of it. You can't go, he said in an effort. You're too young. He said, in effect, you're too young. But David told the king about his fight with the lion and the bear, adding, The Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. At last King Saul was convinced. He saw here a boy with the heart of a lion and strong in the strength of God. He told David he could go and fight Goliath if he wanted to, and gave him a suit of his own armor to protect him. Of course, the armor was too big. Nothing fitted. David felt uncomfortable. I cannot go with these, he said, and took the armor all off again. Then, staff in hand, he walked down to the brook in the valley and carefully chose 5 smooth stones, putting them into the shepherd's bag which he carried. What in the world is he doing? Everybody wondered as they watched him calmly picking up one stone after another and judging them for weight and shape and smoothness. Is he just going to throw stones at the man? They wondered even more as they saw him walk towards the towering figure of the waiting Philistine with no weapon but a sling. As David drew near, Goliath became very angry and cursed him by his gods. Am I a dog, he cried, that thou comest to me with staves? Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. David took no notice. Instead, without a trace of fear, he replied, in never to be forgotten words, Thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel, and all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. This was too much for Goliath. His face livid with anger, he lunged forward, his enormous spear grasped tightly in his massive hands. Still, David did not flinch. Instead, he calmly took one of the stones from his bag, put it in his sling, and threw it with all his strength at the advancing giant. The watching thousands held their breath. Everyone knew there could be no second shot. Suddenly, Goliath stopped, stumbled, fell. His huge spear clattered to the ground. The pebble had struck him in the forehead, the one unprotected place on his body. Running towards the fallen Philistine, David drew the giant's sword and cut off his head. The battle was as good as over. Seeing their champion dead, the rest of the Philistines fled in terror, the Israelites chasing them back to their own country. How much God can do through one dear boy who loves and trusts him with all his heart. So the moral of this story for all of us is have faith, never fear, no matter how big the giants look or how big the mountains look that we have to climb each and every day, never be afraid. Always put your trust in God and you will be okay. Big love to you and hugs. Have a good day.